Hello and welcome to a very special DIY mode sewing tutorial. In this video I will show you how to sew t-shirt Kimi. Kimi is the very first DIY mode clothing pattern. I've been dreaming of sewing real fashion with you for so long, and now it's finally time to get started. Kimi is a basic t-shirt, which means that the style is very simple and classic. So a normal, well-cut t-shirt which shouldn't be missing in any wardrobe. But it is also a basic pattern to me because you can change the look of Kimi by playing with the length. On the chest and sleeves, Kimi is cut figure close. On the belly, it sits loose. There are two lines drawn in the pattern. One for a very short t-shirt that blends perfectly with high-waist pants or skirts, and a line designed for a mini dress. So you get kind of two patterns or styles in one, a t-shirt and a dress. In principle, everything is possible with this pattern, from a crop top to a maxi dress. Since the side seams are cut straight, adjusting to your desired length is so easy. I'm already curious about how you will design your very own Kimi. I will link the pattern below, and I also show you here where you can find it in my Etsy shop. There you will also find information about the fabric selection and a size chart. Now I will show you how to sew t-shirt or dress Kimi. I hope you will enjoy watching the video and hopefully also doing this project yourself. First, you cut the pattern parts. The seam and hem allowance are already included. The two main parts for front and back are cut on the fold. The sleeve we need 2 times and the collar once. Now you can transfer the markings marked in the pattern. At the collar piece it is the middle back, the right shoulder and the front middle. On the sleeve it is the upper middle or the point that comes to the shoulder seam, and then the marks for the front and the back. Transfer these marks also to the second sleeve. The corresponding markings on the two main parts you now mark as well, on both armholes, on the front and on the back. The first seam is the shoulder seam. Place the two main parts right sides touching on top of each other and pin the shoulders together. I am sewing the seam with a serger. The seam allowance is adapted to the stitch of a serger. If you do not have a serger, you should sew only presser foot wide, so less than 1 cm, and choose an elastic stitch. Press the seam allowance into the back so the seam allowance lays flat on the shoulder. The next steps can be prepared together. Close the two side seams in the same way as the shoulder seams. Lay the narrow edges of the collar right sides facing and sew them together. Close the short, straight side of both sleeves the same way, right sides facing, and stitch them together. Now you can iron the side seams into the direction of the back. You can also press the seam from the neckline, and then you can bring the collar into its final shape. You do that by folding it all the way around with the seam inside, so left sides facing, and then work out the edge nicely. The seam of the sleeves is also pressed to the back. The sleeve edge and bottom edge can be hemmed in different ways. The seam allowance of both is 2 cm. The 2 cm you can fold in once and finish the hem with a twin needle or even a cover stitch machine. Also, you could hem the sleeves and the bottom by folding it in twice by 1 cm and doing a stretch stitch, or you can do it like me. I finish the two sleeves and the bottom first with a serger. Then I press the edges inside 2 cm and sew them with a stretchable stitch on my normal sewing machine with a 1.5 cm allowance. I like to sew the seam from the outside because I think usually that looks a bit neater. In the end, I'm backstitching so the seam doesn't open again. I repeat that for the second sleeve and the hem. Next we can apply the sleeves. I turn the main part inside out and let the sleeves turn on the right side. Like this I can put the sleeve in the main part and they are already placed right sides facing. The upper mark of the sleeve comes to the shoulder seam. The seam of the sleeve comes on the side seam, and then the two marks together. Between the extra marks and the middle of the shoulder, I put an extra pin, because that is the round part of the sleeve which must be spread to the straight part of the main part. I stitched the sleeve to the main part, with the main part laying on top. It is important that you pay attention to sew really only these two edges. Since this seam is not secured by another one, I knot the overlock seam to finish it nicely. I sewed a little over the beginning and cut off the threads at about 4 centimeters. Now I'm looking for the two threads that are coming from the above needles. They run very straight and next to each other. I have even used a different color for it, so you can see that very well. I pull them with a quick pull from the rest of the thread. Now you can dissolve the thread loops and you have 4 simple threads that can be knotted easily. You can then press the seam allowance into the t-shirt. To attach the collar, we need to mark the front and the back center of the neckline. For this, you just pull the t-shirt apart and put the two shoulder seams on top of each other, so you can mark the center front and the center back with a pin. Now we pin the collar to the foreseen positions. The markings are helping us. The collar seam comes to the left shoulder, the middle mark to the right shoulder, and then the front and the back center together. While sewing, you have to pull the collar a bit so it fits exactly on the neckline. I finished the seam again by knotting it, and also this seam should be ironed flat. With the last seam, you can now stitch down the seam allowance or overlock seam. You definitely need to choose an elastic stitch for this seam so the head will fit through later. The seam comes just next to the collar but on the main part. I start on a shoulder seam and finish this seam by backstitching when I sewed all around the neckline. And now t-shirt or t-shirt dress Kimi is done. I hope you like the sewing instructions and that you either have just successfully sewn your own t-shirt or dress together with me, or now you really feel like trying this project. Show me your finished work on Instagram by using the DIYmode hashtag and tag me in the picture so I can find it easily. Please let me know in the comments which pattern you would like to DIY with me next. I'm happy if you subscribe to my channel and join me again in my next video. Until then, I wish you all the best. Bye!